There's this idea that shows up a lot in consulting, especially with high performers, that the answer is just to simply work harder, put in more time, take on more, and be more responsive. And for a while, that can work. But if you watch closely, the people who actually sustain this over time aren't just working more. They've figured out how to work in a way that actually fits their lifestyle. And that sounds simple, but it's not. Because it's not something that you figure out once and you're done. It's something that you're constantly adjusting based on your work, your priorities, and your life outside of it. And that's what we're getting into today. In studio, I'm joined by Kamal Patel, partner at Blue Skies Consulting. He spent a lot of time not just figuring out how to make this work for himself, but also helping others think more intentionally about how they work, especially as they grow into leadership roles. This is Frontline Insights, the podcast where we discuss the real-world intricacies of business transformation. I'm your host, Kenis Folk. Let's jump in. Welcome, Kamal, to the podcast. I'm so glad to have you on with us today.
Thank you, Kenis. Looking forward to our discussion around this topic. It's near and dear to the heart.
Okay. So I feel like a lot of conversations lately, whether it's intentionally or just generally, have been around sustainability. And not in an abstract form, but like, what does it actually take to build a career in consulting that you can maintain? And one of the things that keeps coming up is high performers aren't just working harder. They figured out how to work in a way that actually fits their life. And you've been doing that for some time now, and you've really been helping others figure it out as well. So I want to unpack that a bit today.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think it always starts with core foundations, right? I've seen it grow over the years in various different aspects, uh, starting with very early on working at my family business. My uncle owned a bunch of stores across New Jersey, and I had the fun opportunity to work at his biggest store. And for me, starting to work there really established a foundation of how do you work in limited hours while focusing on school, studies, attending family events, missing family events when you're working on the weekends, and really evolving from there into next stages of adulthood.
Sounds like responsibility showed up early for you.
Yeah, it did in a way, and part of it was my dad. He was very keen on responsibility at a very young age. He himself had that lifestyle growing up in India. So when he came here, he never wanted us to be dependent on anyone. He pushed us in different ways to really become self-sufficient in our ways of working and really focus on what's important, what's not, being able to decide. And then he was there as a foundation to help us be successful. But I would say those were some of the key aspects that really helped me shape the direction of where I wanted to go.
Yeah, sounds like those early foundations really helped your ability to manage competing priorities that we're going to get into a little bit later.
That's correct. Yeah. It's, expectation management to my uncle at that stage, the family business, and then also focusing on school and education because that was as important as well, right at that time.
Yeah. One thing that you mentioned before that stuck out to me is that you try not just to react to work and to shape how you work instead. And part of that is just being really upfront about your time and priorities. So, what does that look like for you in practice, especially when it comes to visibility and setting expectations? You mentioned your uncle really set expectations with you and you learned that. So, what does that mean for you?
In my earlier days, it was a little bit more difficult to clearly set those expectations and be transparent, whether it was to my uncle or as I got into college, to my professors or the dean of business school that I used to work with, and then even my first job in corporate accounting. It is a skill that I learned by observing. I saw leaders within my circle, and then eventually first job as a staff accountant, seeing the leadership there and how they were able to manage allowed me to start absorbing some of that information and then understanding that it is okay to say, hey, I have to leave at 4 to go take care of X, Y, and Z. And that became more apparent as I started evolving in my career. I wouldn't say I was the best at it when I first started my corporate
It
career.
takes practice, right?
No, no, definitely. I think the for me the core aspect that I learned to understand is being transparent to myself and then applying that to have those conversations with my leadership, my peers, and then also teams reporting into me. That allowed me to get better at setting expectations, but also balancing and I'm not going to use the word integrating yet because at that stage I wasn't there
Yeah.
as staff accountant and growing into that career, but the core foundation and the transparency started evolving during that stage.
That's something that I think we can all work and strive towards. I wonder sometimes if we're even true to ourselves as we think about what we can and cannot manage, as we constantly raise our hands or don't raise our hands and say that, I need to opt out of this particular thing, or I have competing priorities at this time. So another piece of that is how you use your attention and how you create boundaries, especially in a remote environment. So, what does that look like day to day for you?
Yeah, so from a personal lens, right? I have core responsibilities at home. I have 3 kids, and it is crucial for me to be there as much as I can for them, whether it's in the
Right.
morning hours when we're getting them up, ready, getting to school, and then in the evenings when they have to be picked up, come home for dinner.
Mm-hmm.
There's times where it becomes a little integrated from a conversation point, but from a day to day lens, the calendar management is crucial for me. I would say where I really started to get comfortable around boundary setting was when I moved out of my some of my corporate accounting roles into internal audit because it required significant management with physical sites, leadership, and the broader teams. And at this stage, right, I wasn't married, I didn't have kids. So work life balance was more work, work, and then fun was
Yeah.
also there because I was able to travel a lot through that process. But as you get married, as family grows, uh,
Right.
those priorities intertwine with your work because
Mm.
work is still a core important foundation of yourself.
Oh, no,
I
I
feel
love that. I love that you didn't say priorities shift, but they become intertwined because I think that's a really accurate and enlightening perspective. Often we say the priorities shift, but yes, they do become intertwined. I'm sorry.
no, 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 definitely, and yeah, because work doesn't stop, right?
Mm-hmm.
I tell a lot of individuals I work with now too that work is important because it is a crucial part of a need to achieve other needs, whether
Yeah.
it's to pay for, the basic things, pay for your home, pay for your fun vacation with friends and family,
Mm-hmm.
kids, schools, etc., right? But the importance of spending time with kids and your wife or significant other, your partner, whatever the case may be, is crucial as well. Uh, I wouldn't say I'm the best person at doing both, but I have learned to continue growing in that space. And I'm okay with setbacks because I know I can adjust myself to continue getting better. And part of it is, in the consulting world, setting some of those expectations when you meet people on the client facing side for the first time.
Yeah.
Uh, some folks love waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning and hitting the gym at 5:30. That's their
Mm-hmm.
space. But then they end up changing that because, oh, I need to get on a call at 7 o'clock or 6:30, and the
Right.
schedule gets disrupted. I think folks need to be accepting of that those situations will happen, But you can also set certain level of expectations that, hey, instead of doing it at 6:30, can we meet at 6:45 or 7? Because
Right.
I have this personal commitment, which is to meet my health and fitness needs.
In this new normal that we have, because more and more companies are going remote, we have to be more understanding and open, to your point, about things that matter on both sides. Work
Correct.
will always be there, right? But so will my family and so will my personal needs. And you kind of have to be able to meet the needs on both sides, and being upfront about that and coming to an agreement early on. I can see that definitely making a
Yeah.
difference.
No, definitely. And the other part that I think has evolved and changed, right, especially during pandemic and post pandemic as well, is individuals on how they disconnect is crucial.
Yeah.
I feel folks have a hard time disconnecting. I do too sometimes. Your devices are constantly with you Monday to Friday. You have a tendency to check your emails more, your team's messages more. But there are days where I just have my cell phone on the kitchen counter.
Hmm.
So that tendency is reduced now. I think folks are having a harder time disconnecting from work when they're physically sitting at home because their office may be part of their extended living room
Yeah.
or their extended bedroom. Uh, and I have folks that ask me all the time. It's like, oh well, how do you disconnect? Because when you're remote, you're in the same situation. I was like, well, when I pass a certain point away from my laptop or my computer screens, I have trained my body and my brain to
Hmm.
disconnect. The cell phone is coming along, but then I've figured out where to put my cell phone to at least disconnect for an hour.
That's awesome.
And I
Yeah.
think that that's crucial from a personal lens. It's important to do that. And you may not be successful all the time, but
Oh, for sure.
if you can do it most of the time, I think it's a win.
Absolutely. I mean, and we can talk all day about all the ways to disconnect. And as a firm, we've done a lot of deep dives into this, so I really respect that. Everything you're talking about really is about, it works when you're managing your own time, but it changes a bit when you're working with others.
Yeah.
So, what's felt different as you've stepped more into that leadership role?
Yeah, I think for me, the hardest part was how do I delegate better and set
Mm,
expectations better as a leader? Because sometimes, you just want to roll up your sleeves and do the work
yeah.
because you can get it done. You have the knowledge, the background, the details to it, but it causes two issues. One is you end up taking on more because with the new leadership role, there are additional responsibilities that come on, but you also constrain your team's ability to grow as well, where now they don't have a path to understand and get into broader leadership aspects and roles. So I would say in the past 3 years, I've really learned and observed how to delegate a lot better and set expectations, walk individuals through what is expected of them, how they should go about it, give them a little bit more direction, but not
Hmm.
influence their thought process because the reason you are delegating to them is because they may have a better way to do something as well,
True. Yeah.
right? And it becomes a balancing act. Now, the one additional aspect that I've observed as part of that is also when you start delegating, people start feeling overwhelmed as well because they have their personal aspects, their deliverables from a client facing work standpoint. And then the first question usually comes is, well, how do I manage this? So
Right.
I kind of put it in finite measures for them. I was like, guys, I was like, minimum expectations for us is
Hmm.
to drive their deliverables, program objectives, and their company objectives forward. So that is crucial. Now you need to layer in your personal aspects and say, what additional time can I allocate? Is it 5 hours a week? Is it 7 hours a week? And then plan your work accordingly. I think individuals sometimes get a little aggressive and they'll say, "Oh, I'm going to get this done in the next 3 weeks." And then life and client reality hits.
Yep.
So I always tell individuals, be conservative in your planning so you can achieve your goals in the right manner without disrupting too much of personal and client delivery aspect.
Got it. Thank you for sharing, what it looks like when you're actually coaching someone through that. Listening to you, it's actually similar to how the firm has evolved over time, right? This idea of adjusting and refining and not getting it perfect up front. Do you see that connection here?
Yeah, definitely. When I joined Blue Skies, I was employee 26. And I
Wow.
remember meeting everyone collectively, being super
Hmm.
excited because then we used to have like a East Coast, West Coast in person meeting. So it wasn't a collective meeting like we do now,
Right.
7 years later, right? But uh, what I've seen the firm and the team grow in is how do we stay core to our values, but expand to meet our clients' needs. Finding the right individuals, and also in that process, right? It was something interesting that I observed, and I had shared with the leadership team at that time because I was on the path to becoming a leader. And my
Right.
first feedback was sometimes we're rushing into finding folks and we end up making abrupt decisions, which have ended up causing setbacks. So,
Hmm.
really understanding those nuances at the company level, the firm level is so crucial. And I think overall, our leadership is very transparent in where we are
Absolutely.
headed,
Yep.
where we are core to, and we are really not going to try to change things, but are not shy from saying that we are not able to adapt. Because if you're unable to adapt, you're never going to learn from setbacks or failure points that collectively we've seen or observed. And that's crucial in the growth process of the firm, right? And I think we've done a great job as a firm hiring and bringing on different diverse skill sets and personalities,
Hmm.
which really make the core culture foundation.
Which I
And
love.
yeah, and it's the tone that the leadership from day one, from what I've seen, have set.
Hmm.
And I try to embody a lot of that, but also I'm trying to bring what I also believe enhances the cultural aspects as well, right? Being available, being personable, being approachable. I think those are core values that the firm has gotten better and better at. I think our broader group is accessible in a much more comfortable way than what I've observed in other companies I've worked at or other
Yeah.
areas I've seen. I think there's still aspects of the firm that we're working on getting better at as well. I don't
Hmm.
think we are 100% there. And I don't think you will ever achieve 100%. And I think those areas are with how do you manage delivery, quality of the firm collectively as we grow, right? When we
Right.
were 26 people, it was easier to manage. Now we're
Oh, I bet.
it's a harder process to go through, and it puts a strain on key folks, key individuals, key leaders in their respective areas. And we have to figure out how to manage this, but also bring that second layer, third layer of individuals up to the plate to help support manage some of that as well. Right. And I think that's the one area that we still need to grow in.
So even in, if we think about internally versus externally, how we operate versus how we're perceived, right? Do you think that shifted over time?
I think our internal presence is, I would say, at an 80, 90% extended. into how we're perceived on the client facing side.
Okay.
I think when our team goes to the client, they're the same individuals that they are internally. The relationships that I've been able to build where we have client counterparts text on a weekend, remember happy birthdays, know that
Oh, that's
my kids
nice.
are these ages, uh, are excited to see pictures of my kids growing, right? I think those aspects can only be present and visible if you are the same person internally and externally. I think that's what sets us apart as a firm. Uh,
Yeah.
we extend our personal aspects to our clients, are there for them to be successful. When they're falling down and having setbacks, we feel we have a setback. And I think that personality is somewhat part of our DNA. I think these are core principles that the founding partners have instilled and
Hmm.
continue to grow into and expand to additional team members as they join the firm.
Yeah. One thing that really stands out to me in this conversation is that none of this is static, right? Whether it's how you work individually, how you lead, or how we operate as a firm, it's all something that continues to evolve. And it's not about getting it right the first time. I love that you're always saying, I don't think we can get to 100% because there is that opportunity and that desire to continue to grow and improve, right? So it's about paying attention and making adjustments and getting a little more intentional as you go. And I think that's what really makes it sustainable.
No, you're spot on, right? And a part of this from my lens is it's daily, right?
Mm,
You start daily, you try to get to weekly consistency
yeah,
because when Sunday night ends and Monday morning starts, things will change. You can
that's true.
plan for consistency where kids' schools and drop off is consistent. Dinner time is consistent.
Yeah,
Stepping out with your significant other, your partner on a weekly basis is consistent, which from my personal lens, I'm trying to get better and better at, right? It's not that I would say I'm great at, but it's something that you strive to get better at. Uh, but on the client facing side, things evolve and change. There are new priorities that get set by the client leadership that may impact the program you're on. So, adaptability and how you tackle that becomes crucial, and not fearing that is also important. Uh, I feel if you are new to the space, the first reaction of a change is panic. And, I tell some of our newer, younger team members that take a breather, set back, understand how you're impacted by this first. Understand if you need to change your course first before you react. Because without that set of information, you reacting is very transparent to not only the client facing side, but your internal peers that may be on the program with you as well. And it shows
yeah,
that you still need to grow in that aspect, right? So I always tell folks just take a breather, step away for 5 minutes, come back, decide, document, then have the next steps of conversations, right? And the only reason I'm able to say this comfortably is I've learned to get to that stage. If you asked me 10, 12, 13 years ago, was I as calm in the face of change? No, I was in the same position. I was panicking. I was trying to figure out and scramble. But
hmm,
through observation, through being in those positions, I've learned to step back, take a breather, come back with a fresh set of ideas, mind, and be able to execute. But I think that's so important for the newer team members and younger team members that are joining and understanding how to operate in a
yeah,
constantly changing environment.
absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I love how deliberate you are in your approach. This has been amazing conversation. Kamal, thank you so much for sharing your insights with us. I appreciate it so much. And for those listening, I think the takeaway here is pretty straightforward. The way that you work isn't fixed, it's something that you build and you adjust over time. And the people who sustain this, especially in environments like consulting, they aren't just doing more. They're paying attention to how they work and they're making small intentional changes along the way. So as you think about your own work, where you're spending your time and how you're using your attention, how you're showing up for others, what's one thing that you could adjust? Think about that. So again, thank you so much for joining us, Kamal. It has been great. Is there anything you'd like to close out with before we wrap it up?
No, I think this was great, Kenis. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to share how I operate on a day-to-day basis. Right. I think the from my lens, the closing statement, and I think you summarized it amazingly, is be transparent to yourself, learn how to get better and smarter in working,
Mm-hmm.
and integrate instead of balance, because that's going to allow you to be mentally more happy and successful in the long run.
Absolutely. That's it for today. Thank you, everyone, for joining us on Frontline Insights. We'll see you next time.